Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We've got some fun little installs to get done on the Tundra today. The first primary one is Lensun sent me a hood solar panel to try out, and we're gonna see how the install goes on that and give it a run for a little bit. We've also got an AGM battery that we're gonna throw in there to help with some of the power draw now and then in the future when I hardwire in for some fridges and things. And I've got the EcoFlow Alternator Charger for my power stations that I'm gonna be installing in the back seat that will charge my power station at 800 watts instead of the normal 100 that you can get out of a little DC plug. So that'll be a nice little addition, and we'll get all that wired up today. Now that we have a plan for what we're gonna get done, let's go pull the truck into the narrow garage and get started on the solar panel first. Well, as you can see, we've got a little bit of a tight fit because the tent won't fit on top and I have to have enough room to get out and get to my toolboxes, but she's in here, so let's open the solar panel and clean the hood and see what. First thing we're gonna do before we get ready to lay the vinyl out is I'm gonna mark center line on the top and bottom to help lay the vinyl out, and then I'll give it a good wash everywhere the vinyl is gonna go over and dry it off so that we can get that ready to lay on and get it nice and centered. So let's get some tape on and we'll work on measuring center. Should probably get the step stool before I go much farther than this, just to make sure we're not going to have any problems. And we can use a straight edge to kind of see if that roughly is going to line up. And this is just for the vinyl that's going to go underneath the solar panel, so you won't see a ton of it, but we still want it to look fairly right. So if we get that, eyeballing it, it looks pretty centered and straight to me, so we'll go with that for our marks there. Let's actually wash the hood first, and then we'll kind of move on to getting everything lined up. Now that we've got that done, we'll get it a little wet, and we'll throw a little spray ball Dawn dish on it in just a second, kind of get all that grime off. Just make sure we're getting rid of most of that dust and stuff so that that vinyl will adhere real well when we put some soapy water on it to help push all the air out. Alrighty, let's see if we can get this laid out, and then we'll soap it all up and work on getting it lined up. Alright, we've got some of the vinyl exposed. We're gonna get a whole bunch of soapy water all over where it's gonna go. And then put some on the vinyl, and we're gonna kind of get it a little bit started up at the top, and then I'll work on peeling the rest off and lining it up if I can do it that way. We'll see. Almost died. Use a better step stool next time, everybody. I think it's gonna be easier to just do it all at once and line it up. Because I don't think this is gonna peel the backing's not gonna peel off like that, so. Plenty of soapy water on that. And now we'll get plenty soapy water on the vinyl. I mean, I guess in theory you can overdo it, but it just means you have to squeegee out a little more, but I'd rather have to work harder with the squeegee than have it start to stick way too soon and deal with that nightmare. So let's hope we can get that to line up. And we're just gonna slowly work our way down, working from the outside, or from the middle to the outside as we go. There's a lot under there. I probably put too much, like I said, but we'll get the mass majority of it out, and then we can kind of keep fine-tuning from the outside, or from the inside out. Try and get some of these big bubbles out, and I'm sure I'll have to pinhole it a little bit here and there. Use a razor knife to cut a little relief in it. I can also hit it with a heat gun in a minute. I just honestly forgot to get the heat gun out at first, so that's my bad. I'm gonna grab the heat gun to try and get these last couple little bubbles out along with the knife, and we'll come right back. Well, my heat gun's apparently dead. Haven't used it in a little bit, and it won't turn on. And I'm trying to just push some of these out before it gets too dry or too wet. We'll have a couple bubbles in there, but they'll be captured underneath the solar panel, so you shouldn't see them at all. Shouldn't affect the adhesion of the solar panel. Kind of a bummer, but I guess since this is the first time I've ever done anything vinyl, that I can't expect perfection. Oh, now we're gonna lay out and see where the panel's gonna fit, and go from there. So we've got the solar panel just resting in place, real loose-like. Most people, when I've seen have gotten this kit, they've said that they had to add their own double stick tape. They were using their own 3M or other stuff. But this one actually came with 2 rolls of double stick tape. I did buy some ahead of time because I thought I would need it. But I'm gonna try theirs first since they sent it, and then we'll see how it works, and I'll always have the other stuff if I ever need to switch it back out. I'm just gonna kind of get the final position here, try and work out an air bubble or two that may not be under the panel, and then we'll start putting double-sided tape on the panel and work on getting it stuck down. There is a nice convenient line between the cells that marks the center, and it lines up with the center of that wire. So you can use that with your center marks that you've already made on the vinyl to line it up left and right, and then I'm just gonna end up eyeballing it. I guess that's left and right. You can use that to, well, math is hard when you're sideways. You can use those marks to line up left and right, and then you can eyeball up and down how far you want it based on your wiring needs and how much you want the evenness of the exposure to be. So one tip that someone did give me for the Lensun, if you're not using that because it may be a little lower quality and if you ever have to replace it, if it delaminates, is to not go hog wild with the double stick tape, even with the vinyl on it. So I'm gonna definitely do the perimeter and maybe 1 or 2 strips down the side, but I'm not going to try and cover the whole surface with it, because like I said, I've got a bunch of extra tape, so if for some reason it looks like I'm going to need more, I can always go back and reapply, take it off and reapply all over again. But we're just going to kind of go for perimeter and then a little bit in the middle to keep it down, but not crazy to where the whole thing's covered in tape. One thing I would recommend before you stick the tape down is just wipe it down with a little something like either acetone, denatured alcohol, rubbing alcohol. I don't like to use acetone if I don't have to because it's super strong. It's actually started to peel some of the black finish off when I was putting decals on the grill, at least the decal covered where it was. So I'm gonna go denatured alcohol. It'll help just make sure that this is a nice clean surface to have that 3M or that double-sided tape adhere to. Helps get rid of any little dust and imperfections and things like that that may be holding on to it. All right, let's start getting some double-sided tape on this guy.
You can see when I flip the solar panel over here in just a second, I did spend a good 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes working on getting all the air bubbles out with a razor blade and the squeegee just to make sure it was nice and smooth before I put the panel down.
If you haven't noticed, my buddy Caleb, it's so funny how we can say buddy to people we've only met through the internet, but he's a good dude and talked to him a bunch, so I'm gonna say my buddy Caleb with Baker Overland, Seek the Story and all that. He had some new merch drop a little bit ago, and getting to see his new shirt in action. Just remember, you gotta protect the deer, as he says. The more you camp, well, you can watch his channel and read the rest of the shirt. So we got this laid out. I'm going to wipe down the vinyl one more time with that denatured alcohol just to make sure it's clean. And then we'll work on sticking it. Sometimes these kind of stickers can be really hard to get off the back, so I like to use a hobby knife. It works way better than a fingernail or pliers and just like that, just to lift the edge up just a little bit, and then you can peel it. Now let us place. So it should be pretty easy to move around if you don't start pressing too hard on it. So I'm gonna line up my center line with the center mark I made earlier. Try and eyeball needs to come my way just a little bit. And before we start pushing down, take a step back. Make sure it looks square, all your gaps are even on the sides, it looks how you want, and then you can go ahead and start pushing down. All right, this is the MPPT controller. It is Bluetooth capable. They give you a ton of wire to attach it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna cut it shorter. I'll probably just bundle it up for now. And there's actually a cord here that you could run to a separate load, so either a separate battery or an individual appliance. I'm not gonna be using that right now. Maybe I'll use it for something in the future. All it is, I put a couple more pieces of that double-sided tape it came with, and there's a perfect spot on the fuse box here. I've already cleaned it off also, and so I'm gonna stick it down right there. And if that doesn't work, it has some provisions for some really, really small screws that I'll be able to put in there. So we'll see how it's gonna work. Now we'll work on running all our wires here. I'm gonna connect them all now just so that I can get this bundle appropriately placed and figure out how I want to run all those wires. It's not a problem that these aren't connected. It's got built-in protection for shorts and over circuits and over voltage and things like that. So I'm gonna work on trying to route this wire just a little bit and get it ready to go, and we'll move on from there. The kit does come with these little squares that are double adhesive, and you can run a zip tie through them. And it comes with zip ties, so you can run your zip tie through just like that, and then once it's where you want it, you can actually zip tie the cord up out of the way. And I'm not gonna do these zip ties real tight yet. I'm just gonna get them loosely started to hold in place, and once everything's where I want it, that's when I'll end up tightening them up all the way. It actually has a Velcro strap kind of keeper that holds it all together, so I'm going to reuse that to hold these connectors to the wire and make it into a little neat package, and I'll end up using one or two of those zip tie squares to hold this and the excess of the battery wire down. Maybe two of them, one on each side, just to kind of keep it planted in place. I guess it's kind of a blessing and a curse, if you will. I guess it's good they give you so much wire, but if you don't need it, it's a lot to manage the extra of it. So there's a good chance when I come and do some extra installs, I'm planning on eventually running some of the stuff from Blaze Off-Road, his Garmin power switch, which adds a bus bar and a couple other circuits. So when I do that, I'll clean this up and I'll shorten it and re-terminate it and tie it all together. But for now, just to get it kind of in there and holding in place, we'll do this and it should be just fine. One thing when I'm installing electrical that I like to do if I can is I'll take the fuse out while I'm hooking it up, so that if something crosses, it doesn't end up causing problems. Now I guess it's time to pull the battery and hook it all up. So let me get the right tools and we'll get ready to do that. All right, we got that anti-rodent little squeaker thing wired up. It's just a simple positive, negative, and some double-sided tape. Got our MPPT controller. Just need to put the fuse back in. Rodent deal's in, MPPT's all plugged in, ready to go, solar panels up. Ready to go there. Let's back it out and get it in the sun a little bit and let's see what it's looking like. As you can see, we've got it in, and blinking green means solar is receiving power and it's charging. Green is the panel, yellow is the battery, so that means it's getting power and it's steady, and I have nothing hooked up to the load, so that's why no red light is on. But if we step out of the sun into the garage for a second, and we pull up the app, it's a little finicky and kind of cheap. You have to select it every time, but you can tap Solar Life, and there you can see we're bringing in 25 watts with the hood up right now. See the battery is at 14.1 volts. The load has 14 volts but no amps, and it's just a natural draw there. So it's charging if it needs to. You can also go to your parameters, battery parameters. I've set it to AGM, and you can actually change what your low voltage cutoffs are and things like that, but I'm just leaving it at the default settings other than switching to AGM. And then load parameters, if you do have something hooked up to that load, you can change those. And you can also just see how long the device has been on. But there you can pull it up and you can see what mode it's in, daytime mode, charge boosting. You can click on that and see exactly how much energy you're getting from the different things. So pretty cool way of keeping track of it. It's definitely should have been a 2-hat day if you look, but this is a 1-hatter. I didn't feel like changing for y'all. It's a pretty easy install, not too bad overall. pretty easy to get on. My first time doing vinyl, so some little bubbles, wrinkles here and there, but it comes with the game and it's gonna get scratched up and through trees and bushes anyway, so not terribly concerned about it. It looks like it's doing everything I'm hoping it's gonna do right now, and now we'll just see how long it lasts. All right, we did a little evaluation time. I think I got time to get at least the main cable run done. This one's a lot simpler install, should be pretty easy to go. I did have to switch hats though. It was starting to get way too sweaty, and this is the welding hat will stay out of the way. So let's head out to the truck and see if we can figure out some of this cable run. Let's get some shade. Oh, that's better for sure. Let's come take a look and see what we're working with here. All right, so we've got the seats folded flat. The EcoFlow Alternator Charger is gonna go right about there on the wall. I'm not exactly sure how far up or down. I'm gonna have to see how far out the cord will reach. And then I'm thinking we can run the power line through here, down this little access hole, right down in there. And then it will run down through this sill plate. Keep going through the sill plate here. We'll just pop this one off. And we'll just take this kick panel off. And let's see if we can get some light up in there. Right up there is where it's gonna go out into the engine bay. From the engine bay, we'll come out right down here, run across, and hook up to our battery. So that's the general plan. Now let's see if we can get this wire fished. We do have a pretty long cable run, but it's kind of weird because normally you would start at the battery and then run towards what you're mounting. But on the device end, they've got this big old connector and this clamp ballast. I forget what those do, but that's not going to pass through the firewall. So we have to start at the device side and try and feed it backwards the other way. So let's try and see if we can get that going. All right, after some trial and error, if you pop this whole side access panel off, you can gain access through that gap to be able to run your wire. So now I'm gonna work on fishing it through this hole and then out through the front towards the firewall. Okay, we've got the wire coming down through the channel. Then we're gonna come up, see if we can get enough light in here. The wire goes up through there. I know it's really hard to see. That's kind of the best we can do. All right. We come out the firewall right about here, behind the brake booster, over the back of the engine where there's no moving parts. It's zip tied up out of the way, and it is just run over there. I haven't hooked up the positive yet to the actual fuse block. Uh-oh. You can see there's a fuse pigtail. That's still hot. Oops. Fuse pigtail right there that will hook up to this in just a little bit. Now let's see exactly with how much length we have left here, where we can mount this master unit. They do a really good job of marking this. You can see here is a picture of a car, that's the line from the alternator. Here's a picture of a power station. That's gonna be the line that goes to the power station. And then this is a RJ45 for networking and your power switch, but you don't really use that to actually program anything. I think it's possible future accessories or monitoring or something like that. But you've got your end here from the car. It can only go in one way. And there's also a matching picture on the connector. Plug it in and make sure it doesn't come out. And now we can see how much room we might have to work with. And I was gonna mount it vertically. I don't really want to mount it above the sub, but it looks like I'm probably gonna have to do some sort of angle or something just because I don't have quite enough cable left. But I'm gonna play with that a little bit and see exactly what I can come up with. All right, I've got it hooked up. It looks like it's gonna have to sit just at a little bit of an angle, which is fine. Not ideal, I guess, but not gonna really matter in the long run. I've got some double-sided Velcro or double sticky tape Velcro. So I've got the soft side on the unit and the hard side on the back of the truck. I must be getting dehydrated because I can't think anymore. So we're gonna try and line this up as best we can and stick it, and we'll see if that holds. If not, I can come back and screw it later, but I'd rather not do a screw installation if I don't have to. So I was able to run it. If you look, we were able to snake it out, and it comes out right there with my Ram pants. I can just tuck it away when I'm not using it, and when I need to charge it, I can just set the power station on either side. So that's gonna work perfect. Let's get it buttoned up. Was able to start getting it hooked up to the truck Wi-Fi and get it recognized. Now it's trying to bind to the device. And as you can see, it's sitting right there. Green light on, like it's ready to go. So now we'll just wait for it to finish connecting to the network. All right, everything's hooked up and working. We're 13.9 volts, it's charging at 800 watts. Should only take about 10-15 minutes to get all the way charged. Looks like it's down to 13 now from the 94% it was when I plugged it in a second ago, and it's already up 2%, so that's pretty awesome. And you can see here on the actual unit, it shows it's getting the input and got about the same 13-minute time frame left as the alternator charger. So all in all, pretty successful. We got the solar panel in, we got the rodent protection in, we have the alternator charger in, and we're still charging at 800 watts, and we can charge the car battery with it if we need to, and if it's going to sit for a long time, I can put it on trickle charge. So pretty good deal. So recap, final thoughts. Pretty happy with the solar panel so far. Again, it's more of a long-term durability issue that I've heard about with these, so we'll see how it goes. It's pretty easy to put on. If you haven't done vinyl before, it might be a little tricky. I think that's one complaint, is the way the vinyl was shipped. It was folded in half, and that crease in the middle is where I had a hard time getting the vinyl out, getting the creases and bubbles out. And the fact that my heat gun broke, that was not ideal, and I didn't really have time to go get something different. So lesson learned, to make sure you have everything out ahead of time for sure. But it's on and it's doing its job. It's sending power to the battery. Got that little rodent squealer installed, so hopefully I don't get mice when out camping or squirrels in the front yard. And we got the EcoFlow charger in, and that thing's working awesome and perfect for keeping the power station topped up while driving around in between camping spots. So overall pretty happy. Like I said, they did send it to me for an overview, a look at kind of deal, and I'll have an affiliate link below and a 10% off coupon for you guys listed below if you want to try it out. And we'll see what the long-term durability of it is, but so far for at least the next year or two, and if it lasts long enough for me to get by on that, then it'll have done its job. So I appreciate you watching.